to somebody from.
Now you can get hooked on the phone. Oh, thank you for calling me.
That's maybe big law firms as well.
Yep. There's a lot of networking
For
meetings.
VCs.
That VC show up, so you should. Are you on the next life sciences?
Yeah, I think that they do. They send emails to
Yeah, and they have all the events, so
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
keep scanning those, just 1 or 2
And,
every 2 weeks.
And we're thinking also maybe sponsor some capital networking events. Just like.
I know on the Seaport, the law firms in the Seaport keep having these occasional get-together meetings. So everybody
So
wants to
you
have.
think that maybe that's the
You just
best.
gotta show up though.
Yeah, and just try to get.
At the UK.
Oh yeah, the winter exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So I signed up, so I'm going to that early stage life science conference in March next year.
Is that the one with Debbie Barrow?
Yeah. And that's
I
okay.
used to go to that, but it's expensive. But it's perfect for you because it's all spin.
Because the level of technology is learning has really not decreased, but before companies they present here, they already have to survive. All it's always like, oh, I have a big core. So I think it's good to meet the right people.
But you know, a lot of them come to us here.
Yeah,
Friends
no, so
and
this
the
one.
relatives, someone knows someone somewhere. Continue to invite all the in these meetings where you.
So yesterday that
Welcome to. One moment, please.
Relatives that are calling in, can you hear us now?
Oh, I think we can hear you a little bit,
Oh, great.
but it's not great. It's very
Okay,
faint.
all right, let me see if I can do something about the volume. George, thanks for giving me the heads up.
I don't know how it goes. Maybe.
How about now? Can everybody hear me a little better now?
That's a little better. Yeah.
All right.
Yep, I can hear.
You can hear somebody laughing in the background, too.
That's it. Huge community. Everybody knows somebody.
Yeah, no, so we started system like.
I think his system. Tech transfer. So he's all the local universities.
So actually, we have a
Yep.
Well, for those of you on call-in, we have a number of people here. People are still having a bit of coffee and networking. We should be getting started fairly soon.
Great.
But we still need to.
Although they sort of had their own thing going.
I have to leave at 10 to 10 because I'm running to another meeting.
Oh, yeah, so Susan, I would just grab
A
this
lot of it was
operation.
for facility based, not expertise based.
We basically help our grow by access.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
We're probably going to get started in about 5 minutes. Hi, Roger.
College?
I know, it's a monthly nut. It's just gonna drain you.
Yeah, barely. Yeah.
And they want to start like this. I didn't think about those companies that are,
What did Christine know?
so they don't want to use this time.
When is the meeting going to start?
Well, it sounds like they're starting, but they're,
Oh, we just did that. Yeah, I think so. Let me just make sure.
They almost be grabbing coffee.
So, Jen Collins, you just got your email. Can you hear us? Are you connected now?
You are
But
the,
it's pretty faint, and we can only hear when you talk directly into the phone, so we won't be able to hear conversations really.
so from smaller to another, and in between smaller plus you, and then they move to a whole larger place and all that. So it's not just adding space, but it's actually, it's a longer process.
The meeting hasn't really started. People are just pretty much filing in. In about 5 minutes, we'll get started.
Thanks for the update.
Okay, I'm busy because I'm on towards the what's the technology? Yeah. It's a personal medicine. Yeah, no, we come so it doesn't know where to go.
Okay.
Unfortunately, everybody wants to be on one.
I'd heard about that, but at the same time. We're not used to things like the same thing.
Yeah.
And then again, it helps if it were.
So have you all been able to access that live link that I sent?
Isn't it? No. I didn't get it.
That was sent out just earlier this morning. As soon as I got in, there was a new link to live streaming this meeting.
yeah, I got it, and I'm not sure that it's working.
Yeah, well, it's a black picture.
All right, let me check on that. as
Yeah,
well.
I have a blank screen too.
And I never got the link, Susan.
That was resent early this morning, well before 8.
Oh, all right, I got it. But it is black.
Updated link.
Link.
Is the link the same as the original email?
Yeah, no, it's. I just found it. It came at. It came from Leah Sansone at 7:34 a.m.
I wasn't on the email. Sue? Are you there?
All right, well, it's probably time to get started. Let's make sure everybody's in the room. As people start talking, the conversation will be much easier to hear.
I've done that a couple of times over the years, but
We're getting part-time stuff as well.
Right. All right, they want to start. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, well, it's probably time to get started. Good morning, everyone. This is Susan Silberman. We have here in the room with us Chris Kennedy, John Hallinan, Svetlana Lazarova, Roger Frechette, Dahlia Cohen, Mike Henry, Bob Bondurich, Nils Bergenham, and Kendall O'Connor. And who do we have on the phone?
Got Larry Wittenberg for one.
This is Joanne Cammons.
Hi, this is Daisy right here.
Imran Nasrullah.
Susan Boynton.
Jim Holmes.
Butch Hillman.
And that's it. All right, let's get started. If you can access that link, it was sent out early this morning by Leah at about 7:38. You'll be able to live stream this as we go forward. So here's our second Forum Advisory Board meeting. And the agenda for today is networking and welcome. Welcome. We're going to talk about goals for this meeting and then an overview of the forum series and the process that led to what we've come up with. We're going to discuss the topics to round out the forum program, and then next steps, action items, and adjournment. I sent along a short recap of the last meeting. Right now we're going to talk about, did someone just join us?
Yes, this is Brian Fenton. Sorry I'm late.
Hi, Brenton. We just got started.
Okay.
So the goals for this meeting right now are to decide how you wish FAB to be governed. And this is an action item for the last meeting. And then to choose 2 Forum Advisory Board members as points of contact for each of the working groups. So first item, Forum Advisory Board co-chairs and officers. You know, we asked you all to think about this at the first meeting. And really what we're looking at for co-chairs, the role is basically to present as the face of the programming initiative and promote collaboration among your colleagues on the FAB and lend momentum to this effort, chiefly to act as an interface with MassBio and basically to be our partners in keeping this process manageable. So far we have Dahlia Cohen and Mike Donovan, who have come up as co-chair candidates. Any of you have other names? Would any of you like to volunteer? Let's think about this. Do we need 3 co-chairs? Some of the working groups have more than 2 or 3 co-chairs. What makes sense for this group going forward? Roger?
Happy to volunteer if it's 2 or 3 or whatever. I think lightening the load is probably in everybody's interest.
Agree? Anybody disagree? Anybody anybody? It's interesting talking. Anybody in the ceiling have a suggestion? Volunteer comments? Hello, who just joined us?
It's Rob Goldstein.
Hi, Rob. We're just
hey guys, sorry I'm late.
We're just talking about co-chairs for the Forum Advisory Board.
Okay.
Right now, the names that have come forward are Dahlia Cohen, Mike Donovan, and Roger Bichette. So if this is, if anyone has any...
Three is that I don't think we need more than 3.
No, I think it's very
It becomes another committee. Exactly.
Right, no, another committee. No. Well, I think that this is, these are our co-chairs. Unfortunately, Mike Donovan is not present. He's home with his 6 kids. He'll be delighted. So what makes sense, again, for clerk? Someone to make sure things are recorded. Is that a position that makes sense? Does someone want to volunteer? How would you like to do
Co-chair job
this?
should be hands-on.
What is that?
Yeah.
What's that?
Do we need a clerk?
Well, that's the question. In thinking about how other boards work.
I think eliminate the layers of management and just have the co-chairs do it all.
They could rotate the clerk function.
Yeah.
Just her leading.
Well, basically, I think that makes sense. There are enough people to make more hands make light work. So then, okay, so noted. Then we will not be needing a clerk because our co-chairs will be superb at all of what they do. Okay, so
Maybe we just want to make Mike.
what's that?
Sorry, it's just a joke. Mike, because he's not here.
Well, jokes are good, but it's all be recorded, you know, anyway.
Yeah.
Charge you get. It's
All
properly documented.
Yeah, we go ahead.
right, so next, whoops, no. Crowds and working groups, teachers and officers. Let's see. This is not going away. It's set up. Well, anyway, the next thing we need to do is choose 2 FABs as points of contact for each working group. So I sent along.
Yeah.
At the first meeting, we talked about mapping a FAB member or 2 to each working group. And everybody put their hands up. And for working group liaison next to the name, there are a lot of volunteers. Let's make this more manageable and think about 2 for each group. Everybody on the phone, this was part of one of the attachments in the reminder email I sent out earlier this week. Right now, Debbie Benjamin volunteered for SEF. Oh, yeah, well, y'all volunteered for a lot of them. What makes sense here?
So we have now, based on the list, all those forms that have been, well, that's the question, because, you know, most of us volunteer to several activities. So my question is that, are we having now the forms associated with this?
The forums?
Yeah.
That's a separate issue. Okay. These are just liaison from the FAB group to work directly with the working groups, to be in contact with working groups, to be a liaison for the 2-year term. The issues of the forum we'll discuss that a little later. So, you know, what makes sense?
How many working groups do we have?
10. But let me, you know, I have.
FAB members do we have?
We have 18.
Okay.
So she's looking for approximately 2 FAB representatives to be points of contact for each of the 10 respective working groups.
Right.
Okay, so it almost maps.
Yep.
Everybody would be a liaison for one.
Yeah.
In a couple of cases, people might map to 2.
Right. So think about what makes sense, and because this is what came up at the first meeting, and clearly there's an uneven distribution here. You know what? I have a handout with all the working group.
That probably makes sense.
Let me grab that.
But for a drug discovery, it may make sense for you two to be the liaisons, just because.
That would work.
You know, so.
Yeah, of course, I mean, that's what we've been to.
Right, so you.
Exactly.
If everyone's cool with that, that would be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if anyone else has passion, I can fix that.
Right.
So, don't know, but I'd be happy if that's the default.
So here are the lists of the working groups along with 2 of the co-chairs.
So Susan, if we want to just get started with drug discovery, I would say, thinking that probably Bob and Nils might be good liaisons, since they were the former co-chairs of that committee.
That would probably be a very good idea.
With that in mind, I'd like to, step up for the BD and Finance Committee as one of them.
All right, so let's just do this.
This is Kathy on the line. I'd also be glad to be a liaison for the Drug Discovery Committee.
Okay. Kathy, do you have that chart in front of you of all the different working groups?
I can bring it up.
Yeah, there are a couple that are not well represented here. Biostats and clinical trials, legal and regulatory.
Yeah, Yeah, so I think our goal is really for 2 for each group. So maybe we could see if, so it sounds like we've got 2 for now, the drug discovery. So maybe if folks can try to fall into some of the other ones.
Why don't we just go through everybody that's in the room and on the call and have them say what their first choice is? And if we end up with more than 2, then more than 2 on any one group, then we, you know, have them arm wrestle for it.
Okay. Yeah, so I think maybe we go through it, and if you hear one, then just say another one, because I think that that's what Susan did the last meeting, right? So this is how we created this spreadsheet.
This is how it came out that everybody follows a number of things. So let's start on the first page of your handout here for the CRO-CMO committee. Anybody's first choice for that? Anybody on the phone has a preference?
I'm sorry, what was that meeting, that particular,
Or CRO-CMO working.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's Susan Boynton here. I'll go for that. I mean, obviously my prime area is legal and regulatory, but you can put me down for the CRO-CMO too.
All right. All right.
Sounds like we've got our 2 for this.
So, and also, Susan, I have you down for legal and regulatory. Would that work for you?
Yeah, obvious, yeah, thanks.
Perfect. Okay, so drug discovery, we've got that. Entrepreneurs University.
I'll be happy to volunteer.
This is Joanne. I can be on that one.
Entrepreneurs University, Joanne?
I'm also willing.
I'd be an offer as well if you need some.
Okay, so we need 2. Joanne, is this, Joanne spoke first?
Yeah.
All right, so let's do you. And I'm sorry, who was it that next interested in EU?
This is Kathy. I'm also willing.
I think,
Susan, this is Jim Holmes. I'd be willing as well.
okay, so we've got.
I think you were asking if that was a first choice, Susan. Is that what we're asking here?
Yeah, first choice.
Yeah, so I think that's probably my first choice. This is Joanne.
And anybody else's first choice? Or because there are still 7 other working groups that we need to map to.
Yeah, this is Larry Wittenberg. That would be my first choice also, but I'm happy to go where I'm needed within where I have some limited competence, which are 3 of them. Not.
Larry, had you considered legal and regulatory?
Well, I have some limited competence there. Yeah.
Larry, would it be okay with you? I feel like you would be perfect for the legal and regulatory.
That's fine.
All right, so we have Eleanor. I'm sorry, so we've got Susan Boynton is all set. Susan Holmes also for EU. Okay, so EU is set.
EU's Entrepreneurs University?
Yes.
Yeah, can you put me down for that one also? Yeah, that's Imran.
Oh, Imran. Let's see, let's think about some of the other.
Imran, we have 2 for that. Is there another one that you would be interested in?
The other one would be business development.
BD? Okay. Is it okay if we
That would be
for BD?
This is George Hillman. I would prefer to be on business development as well.
Okay, so business development. Okay, George and Imran.
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
Always co-chair.
Yeah, so I think.
Susan, we good?
We gotta choose. Yeah, we gotta choose 2. George and Chris?
Yeah, Chris did say it first.
All right, so. I know, George, you had emailed me earlier as well, but this was your first choice, so.
Oh, wait.
Wait.
Talking about BD, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the only one that I want to serve on. So.
That's the only one that
that I would serve on. So, you know, I mean, if other people want to do it, you don't need so be it.
Susan?
Yes.
I guess something that, we're kind of run into something like this in a couple of places. More than half of the people in the group on the FAB have a primary professional role in either business development or finance. So what is the, or drug discovery, what is the anticipated role of the liaison, and is it essential or even preferable to have somebody who's primarily works in that space to be involved, or is there advantages to go into something that's a little bit out of your central field? And I'm not really sure what the envisioned role of the liaison is.
What we had envisioned is, and you're correct, there many of the forums that we have slated up for the coming quarter do have a heavy BD and finance focus. The role of the working group liaison is to be in touch with the group, to act as, you know, a conduit for information with the FABs, and also to help execute the forums, because a forum will be produced by any one of a number of working groups depending on the subject, on the topic. So maybe BD, finance can use more than two co-chairs. They will be more involved, more heavily involved, it seems, the way we set it up now.
Yeah.
Well, one view of this two-person role is that certainly if there's 10 BD experts on the FAB, and a forum or other activity is being planned and executed by the working group, that the two people who are in that role of liaison can certainly commiserate with their fellow wizards on the FAB, bring whatever resources that needs to be brought to bear for the exercise and the forum. So you've got at least coordination by those two folks, because it's really going to be, at least what Niels and I found over the years, is finding speakers, finding you know, contacts and folks and all of that. And that's really where I think the value of all of this community is really going to be brought to bear, is who knows whom, in order to make the best programming available to the membership. And so it may well be that all of the folks here that are interested in BD will be participating and contributing to BD activities, but maybe the two people that get chosen are the ones to help to streamline it, to coordinate it, to make sure that it happens. But it doesn't mean that folks that aren't specifically those two don't get to contribute.
I agree with that. This is Joanne. I think it's important just to have a primary point of contact.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to articulate.
I mean, that's, I think, what we're saying about what the FAB is anyway, is that, you know, you're going to put in as much as you can choke on, frankly, depending upon the level of your passion and your availability.
That's true. And in the interest of streamlining the process, yes. Also, for each forum, there will be a FAB member from inception to execution who will follow that process along as well. So there'll be plenty of opportunity for a BD person to come in and help oversee the process of a particular forum. So is everybody comfortable with that? I think that's going to be the most efficient use of our resources here. Okay, so what did we end up with? BD, George and Chris?
There are, to me, a couple of simple ones where we only have a few people there. So maybe if we just do a volunteer then for statistics. I see two. There is SCF. There is two.
Yeah. So let's keep going down the line here. As long as we're on biostats. Kathy, you had mentioned that you had been interested in that from the last meeting.
So I didn't realize how clinical it is. I really don't have the clinical experience. You know, I do have some informatics and data management experience.
Well, anybody else who feels like they would want to be part of biostats? And biostats
It's Susan Boynton here. I can help out on that one too, if you need someone else.
Okay, you've already signed up for legal and regulatory and CRO CMO. And these will be shifting as well because there are two of you, you know, if one...
Well, if somebody else wants to do the CRO CMO, I'll take on the biostats and clinical trials.
That's going to be tough for one, I think, to find people.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Yep. Dahlia, is this something that you want to take on? I know you were interested in that before. Biostats clinical trials.
No, it's not my expertise, but I can take it on myself. You know, if I need help, I will ask for help. That's basically what it is.
Yes, and we have the entire...
You know, I did some clinical trials, so I have some idea, but that's it.
Again, the expertise will be with the working group, biostats working group co-chairs. So we'll all work together on that. Everybody good with that? Anybody else who is dying to do biostats clinical trials? Okay.
So Susan, now again, I'm not real versed in clinical trials, but if you need someone on there from a data management and informatics perspective, I'm willing to provide that. But maybe we should just make sure that the other Fab liaison has the clinical trials expertise.
I think we do. Susan, you're good with that? Okay, we have our biostats clinical trial contact. All right, so that's taken care of. SEF, I'm looking at SEF, Debbie Benjamin.
Susan, are you going to, because a couple of people have two at this point, there's going to be, do we need?
Well, let's get to the end of this list and let's see. What's that?
Let's keep going.
Okay, let's keep going. SEF. Debbie Benjamin had signed up for that one. Roger, I know you had listed that as one of your choices. Anybody else who would like to take on being a liaison for our SEF working group? Safety, environmental facilities. What do I hear?
Suggestion. I think you really don't need two FAB members to be liaisons. One is enough. So in the event that there's only one person interested, one is enough, I would say.
Well, maybe that's true. All right. What do I hear? Going once?
No, agree.
And Debbie was a co-chair, so she's...
And she was a co-chair, right, so we're good with that. All right, so SEF. We've got SEF. We've got Business Development Finance. All right, so for formulation and drug delivery, who is interested in taking that on?
Can do that.
As a liaison. Who? I'm sorry, who? Or was that a?
Roger volunteered.
Roger, and who else? Anybody?
I can help if
Selena, yeah.
it's needed.
Why is this not working? All right. And Roger. So right now, Roger, I have you for FDD. Yeah, let me just, Roger, I just have you for FDD. Was there something else? I'm sorry, I just popped this off.
Yeah, I've worn a lot of different hats. I'm comfortable in everything except biostatistics.
So, or we have those. So all right, so we have Dahlia gave up biostats for Kathy and Susan Boynton. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
So Susan Boynton and Kathy Call, you're good for biostats, clinical trials.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so let's see. All right, so what are we missing? All right, so for FPV we have Lena and Roger. So we're all set with that. Our SEF done. Drug discovery we're done with. And HR.
Yeah, we need a second.
Yeah, we have 4 DD at this point. Sure.
So who'd be interested in taking on human resources as a liaison? Do we still have people on call?
This is Joanne. I'm happy to be the liaison if you need a liaison to that one, but it's not my area of expertise. But I know as much about it as anyone running a company.
So, who else is interested in HR? Delia? All right. So Mike is not here. It's just,
Yeah, there might be people who aren't on who are more appropriate.
well, we can discuss that as we go. This is to start with right now. See how
Yeah.
we
Did
do.
anyone on the list that expressed interest on that list that's not on the call? There were a few people.
You know, there really weren't. That was one of the ones that did not, that didn't elicit a lot of interest.
So maybe someone who, doesn't mind being reassigned or something. I mean, I was one of the people who said I could do that one, so that's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
I think 2 of us said that just based on, run enough companies, you get a taste of it.
I mean, yeah, Roger and Dahlia also said, I'm looking at the list. But I don't mind being the liaison there, and in addition to, Entrepreneurs University, that's fine.
All right. So far we have
We need one more PCRO and then we need Markov.
all right, one more for CRO. Well, let's see. Catalina, you're taking on.
Repeat what I said before, that I think 1 is sufficient. If there's not 2 candidates who are clearly stepping forward to take an assignment.
Yeah, I think 1 will be okay because I look at the working group for Zero. There are 4 people there. They're all actually running Zero. I'm running a Zero. So
People are the former co-chairs.
Yeah.
I think it may make more sense to find people who have a desire and a passion to do something rather than just shoehorning multiple people in just to achieve a body count.
So then Marcom.
All right, Marcom. Who would be interested in the Marcom working group? Do you want to take that on? You're already into you're.
I'm HR. Whatever.
Yeah, she's just an HR.
Right. Marcom. Anybody else for Marcom? Rob, are you still there?
I'm here. I see a lot of eager beavers to work with us. We can use all the help we can.
So, any other takers?
I'd be happy to help there.
All right. So, Chris Kennedy, our other Marcom contact. What did I do here? Okay, PD. So what do we have left here? I think,
Those were all the groups, but maybe you can just review it and.
Yep.
See if there's- people who weren't on the call that were interested, maybe they could participate on.
All right, so right now, what we have, all of our groups are covered by at least one FAB contact. Debbie Benjamin is covering SEF. For drug discovery, we have Nils Bergenham and Bob Bondrick. For biostats clinical trials, we have Susan Boynton and Kathy Call. For legal and regulatory, we have Larry Wittenberg and Susan Boynton. For HR, we have Dahlia Cohen and Joanne. For Marcom, we have Dahlia. For FDD, I'm sorry, Chris, here we go, Chris Kennedy. For FDD, we have Roger Frechette and Svetlana Lazarova. And for HR, we have Joanne Payment. We covered everything. Oh, and for CRO, CMO, we have
Stuff.
Svetlana.
You missed a number of things, I think. In
Well,
the
maybe
list that you just read off.
So I'll get to that. So for CRO, we have Svetlana Lazarova. For EU, we have Jim Holmes and Joanne Kamens. And now I think we've got it. I think that's it. Did I miss anything? All right, great. I'm going to send around an email and include this list for everyone in case there are some who want to weigh in on some of the other groups. All right. So that's good. All right, so we'll pass. Now, the forum program. We took the themes that you came up with at your first meeting of development strategy, growth, globalization, capital agenda, and healthcare policy, and a number of topics from that. We took all of that, and at the March 21 FAB and co-chair reception, we put those topics up and said, okay, let's divvy up into different groups and start thinking about important topics under each of those themes. Got a fantastic list of topics. Took that to last Thursday's working group planning meeting. Had an incredible brainstorm. Oops. Where's this? Well, let's see. You know, sometimes it didn't end up. Right. All right, let me just do this. All right. Here's what came up. For the development strategy theme, people came up with drug discovery and development and limited resources, that should be an overarching theme. And they came up not with just 3 topics, because that was all from the meeting, but an entire series of forums going forward with that. Based on that general theme, in early June, a Dreams to Reality forum, case studies discussing successes, and the working groups that volunteered to work on that were drug discovery, legal and regulatory, and CRO, CMO. The second of the series, Financing the Dream, how are companies valued? EU and ED volunteered to bring that forward. And then there's a break for July and August because things are usually a bit slower. And for the beginning of September, Populating the Dream, Part 1, Strategy and Models, Marcom, HR, and BD and Finance. We're going to take that on. And then Executing Populating the Dream, Part 2, in late September, Science Tactics, Drug Discovery, Biostats, SEF, and CRO. Take on that. Continuing again, first week of October, Selling the Dream, Partners, Payers, and Patients, again, EU, Marcom, and BD. Volunteered.
Can you speak up a little? It's getting a little hard to hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. So for the first October forum, the title Selling the Dream, Partners, Payers, and Patients, EU, Marcom, and BD volunteered to bring that forward. And for the last of the series, Lessons Learned, Stories, and Nightmares, and again, EU, Marcom, and BD Finance volunteered for that. So this is what this looks like, and this is the series. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that a little later. So this actually turned out to be a fantastic.
Yeah, excuse me, I have to leave, but I will follow up with you tomorrow, Susan.
I'm sorry, we didn't hear you. Who is that?
George Hillman.
Hi, George.
I have to follow up with you tomorrow. I have another meeting to go. Hello?
So, Susan, only for my clarification, those dates, they came back, those will be the meetings from now on. So there will not be individual working group meeting like the ExCom.
We're going to talk about that. These are the broadly reaching, what?
That all the working groups are going to present in their seminars.
Yeah, this was sort of the broad theme.
The overall themes for the year.
Exactly, that they came up with, and it sort of rolled into an actual 6-part series. But what we're hoping, and Susan will go over that towards the end, is that we can supplement this with some more of the specific working groups. Like as you see, FDD isn't really represented here, or biostats. And I don't know if there's a way we could somehow fit them in and have their own forum, that sort of fits into this broad theme.
Right, so, I mean, because it's set up, there's 2 a month, 2 a month, 2 a month, there's plenty of room for collateral events, say, after the September 6th forum, Executing the Dream, Science Tactics, well, maybe Drug Discovery and Biostats has a collateral event that speaks to some of the things that were brought up. That's not quite as broad, but again, is much more in-depth and focused on that particular.
So my question is, like early June, let's look at that day. The June 2013 forum, that's a theme, Dreams to Reality, Case Study Successes. Does that mean that Drug Discover, each one of those working groups are going to do a forum associated with, they're going to collaborate?
They're going to collaborate. That's the whole idea of the forum. These forums are collaborative events. The topics are more broad than the committee meetings used to be. For just, better in-reach into our membership, better value. And then, collateral events as time permits within that schedule. So we're going to talk about that a little bit in a minute.
Yeah, like Chris, EU had some ideas for some that could supplement within here. So as you can see, we'll have all of July and August that we need to fill the calendar with some of these additional events. And then, like Susan said, there's time throughout the other months that we could add a few additional.
Is there a way to, in addition to forum meeting or special forum meeting, to invite speakers?
Oh yes.
So it will be a speaker event, not a forum event. So it will be much larger.
Yes. All right. So let's continue a pace here. So this is pretty much has been the most successful model for executing on these events. We're looking for maximum outreach, developing an excellent programming, and adequate lead time to get really, really good speakers. So at least 8 to 10 weeks prior to when we want the forum to go on the calendar, our Forum Advisory Board points of contact for each working group, develop the forum topic, reach out to speakers, and define the target audience so that we can think about effective marketing. 6 weeks prior to the date on the calendar, all the speakers are confirmed and the description is drafted. At 4 weeks, marketing. The details are all finalized in the calendar on the website. Registration opens and marketing begins. And then 1 to 2 weeks prior, final planning con calls, but con calls all through this process as they're needed.
So just want to point out that sometimes 8 weeks isn't even enough time because of people's forward calendars.
Right, which is why
That's actually a pretty tight schedule.
Is it?
You know,
Yeah.
sometimes we would get speakers lined up and they wouldn't be available for 3 months.
Right.
Tough to get someone nailed down for 2 months.
That was you, two of you working on this basically on your own. Now we have 3 working groups, each with 3 co-chairs who can reach out to their networks along with whoever is the FAB contact. So we're thinking, yes, that's the minimum right now. That's the minimum time frame, right?
As long as there's more than one person who can fit as the speaker, you should be good to go, right?
Oh, yeah. So, you know, more people will have much better outreach, and we're counting on everybody to do that. So what happens next is choosing a FAB point of contact for each of these forums going forward. And then we'll discuss supplementing the forums right away. All right, so let's pull this back up again.
So on the early, I would like to just mention that maybe for reaching out to speakers, once we identify what are the criteria for that speaker, we can just reach out to everybody here at the board and see if they know somebody who will fit that role. So it doesn't just have to be co-chairs in the working group, but the point of contact should just be everybody. And I guess there are 20 or 30 of us.
There are, well, there's 18 Forum Advisory Board members, 37 co-chairs. So
we should be able to cover the whole board.
That's the exact hope.
Yeah. And that's to Mike's point earlier, right? The liaison goes both directions, right?
That's it. The liaison is a conduit. Yep. So for the early June, now we are at that 8 to 10 week window now for an early June forum. Bringing the dreams to reality, case study successes. We want to bring in excellent speakers who can tell really great success stories.
So do we want suggestions for that?
We want volunteers to say, you know, I would love to see this through, to be the point of contact for this particular forum.
And the thought for this one was for different companies to talk about the models that they,
Well, of course, one of them I know did it on unlimited resources. The other one I'm not too sure of, but there are definitely 2 success stories there. If you look at Smart Cells, they managed to get the company to a point where they could sell the whole capability to Merck for a quite astronomical amount of money, with very little money into the company.
Astronomical is success.
So I know that they did it on limited resources, and most of Moderna has grown from the initial investment in 2010 to now we're what, $430 million partnership in the same country.
Hello? Did someone just join us?
I have no idea because my flagship was in Moderna, so they might not have, I'm not sure how limited their resources were, but at least it's definitely quite a success in a very short time.
So those are the type of companies that will make great speakers.
Right.
Like us to accomplish being virtual or semi-virtual.
Right.
Yeah. So we can reach out to CSO, Moderna, and several other companies.
Yeah.
So several different models,
Yeah.
either completely virtual or, you know.
I think the 2 of them, since Moderna had VC money from 2010.
So that is exactly.
Never had any VC money. and managed to get it to that point. So there's definitely two very different models, and which have been quite successful.
So that's exactly the idea. Who would like to be the point person to work with the working groups and see this through?
I'll be happy to contribute. I know several companies that will fit the bill.
So Svetlana is our first form fab contact. All right. For the next one, financing the dream, how are companies valued? This was something that John Hessian and a number of other working group co-chairs had talked about. Who would like to have some ideas in coordinating this and following this one through? Chris, yeah? All right. Now again, I've already scheduled telecons with both of these groups. So we'll get you involved right away on being part of those planning calls. Next one, in September, we've got some time, but again, more time as it's getting together more easily. Executing Populating the Dream. September. Yeah. All right. So our fab contact on that is Dahlia. Executing Populating the Dream, Part 2, Science Tactics. Any takers for that one? Kathy, are you still on?
Yes, I am. I'd be glad to be a liaison.
It should be a very interesting one as well. And an opportunity to work with the SDM. Okay, in October we have Selling the Dream, Partners, Payers, and Patients. We've got EU, Marcom, and BD working groups working on that. Who would be interested in taking that on and following that through? This is going to be more, I guess, business strategy, looking at VCs, how partnering works, maybe patient advocacy and moving things forward, how payers are going to react. Mike Donovan is not on the call. Unless anybody feels strongly with him, I can have a chat with him. Unless anybody feels strongly about wanting to take this one on.
I mean, I'm once again happy to help, but if you want to find,
Well, I think check with Mike.
Either do it with him or whatever. If I can be of help.
And if not, we'll get back to you, Chris. And then for the last one, this should be a fun one. This is our wrap up. Lessons learned, stories, nightmares. Oh,
looks like fun.
It doesn't. All right. So Roger is going to take on that one.
It's going to be interesting to see. People usually don't like to talk about the nightmares, unless there's a happy ending.
Always a way to spin it.
People love horror stories. We can fill the place. So this looks terrific.
Susan, this is Kathy. I just looked at my calendar. One of the things I'm key in planning the full Genzyme offsite meeting that is in earlier September. So I'd still be glad to work on executing, populating the dream, but maybe it would be also good to have a second point person with me.
We had, all right. Someone interested in executing the dream part 2, science tactics. Roger's hand went up first. And do I have anybody from the ceiling? On the call. All right, so Roger and Kathy will be teamed up on that. So here are our thoughts about this. We would like to, well, first, this schedule again allows for developing collateral events that again are maybe smaller and deeper in content, so to supplement the broader forum topics. We want to market this series as soon as possible because as a series, it's a fantastic thing. And momentum is crucial. We're at that 8 to 10 week window now, so we need to get these early forums on the calendar as soon as possible. We'll be getting a con call in place and try and get that moving fast. Also thinking about this, because these are broader and the first forum is going to be our launch forum, maybe we extend that instead of just an 8 to 10 meeting, 8 to 11 with a broader overview and more speakers, more stories.
So every one of those would be 2 hours?
That's what we were thinking. But again, these are broader topics, and especially for that first one where we're launching the series, maybe 3 hours looks better.
And that way we can also leave more time for networking as well.
And absolutely, that's a key part of this as well, networking. Everybody on board with that? Okay, no dissenters. I'll take it as a yes.
Most meetings have been 2 hours. How often have we tried to do longer?
Haven't. But especially for this first one?
Yeah.
I think that would be really valuable.
I mean, we have had longer meetings sort of historically, and for something like this where it's kind of the launch of this series, I think it will be okay.
Yeah.
And with any of these, people can come and go as they sort of have availability.
Yes, they usually do. And this will allow for more speakers, more stories.
Well, just that they can get a comprehensive story out and it's not just a 15-minute quick.
Yeah. And there'll be plenty of time for interaction. Again, these are going to be broader, and there'll be people from different spectrum, across the spectrum of biotech here.
Also discuss.
Hey, Susan, it's Rob Goldstein. I got to hop off. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
So for a small fee, these major series pieces will open up to non-members.
Right, so that's very important. This has been brought up again and again. Some of these series will be open to non-members just for a small fee. So this doesn't really take away from the value for our membership, but it brings in people who are, well, not so much non-members as potential members.
Well, because we understand that this series is actually targeted at some of the folks who are so small that they actually aren't members yet. So we wanted to make it available to them.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so just a recap for the first forum, Dreams to Reality case studies. We've got Svetlana Lazarova as a point person. For the second one in June, Financing the Dream, How Are Companies Valued? We have Chris Kennedy. For the September, first one in September, Executing the Dream, Part 1, Strategy and Models. We have Dahlia Cohen. For the second, Executing the Dream, Science Tactics, we have Roger Frechette and Kathy Paul. For the first one in October, Selling the Dream, Partners, Payers, Patients. I'm going to contact Mike Donovan. And for the wrap-up, Lessons Learned, Stories and Nightmares, Roger Frechette. So we're good on that. So as far as discussing supplementing the forums with collateral events, perhaps that's something to think about for the next meeting, unless people have
Well, I guess, so at this point, I would ask, how many committee meetings were last year, right? How many committee events, right? Because we're talking here about only doing 5 forum events.
6 forum events spread out over 3 months. Again,
That are just part of the series. So now the goal is to supplement this with additional, more sort of streamlined, in-depth topics. So we actually had 70 last year, which is obviously not sustainable from our point of view. And, you know, some of those only had maybe 10 people attend. I mean, they had varying numbers, but on the smaller side. So our hope is these will get very broad audiences of up to 100, and then those supplemental events will probably be for a smaller audience, but hopefully around 20, 30, 40 folks.
So on top of these forum events, on top of the ones that's 5, 6 that you've targeted that we've targeted so far, are you then potentially charging? Is this the working groups with maybe doing additional 2 apiece or 1 apiece, or is there any kind of marching orders to kind of, you know, not throw the baby out with the bathwater like last year? 70 was a lot,
Right.
But continue to produce valuable content for the members beyond just these 6.
Yeah. I don't think there was a specific number that we had in mind, but we're open to whatever people approach us with.
And as I've been working with the working group in 2 meetings, I've been getting many, many suggestions. HR had a terrific suggestion for following on populating the dream. So an event in there somewhere. And use your imagination. Any one of these would be a great place to have a collateral event. So people have been talking about that.
Just because we seem to have, you know, a lot more firepower on the co-chairs,
Yes.
more, as well as our efforts. All the people that wanted to step up and be involved in the BD and
Yes.
finance. I mean, we could crank out a whole bunch of stuff with that level of interest.
Yes.
So I'm just.
It's not so much about filling the calendar.
Right.
It's quality events. Made clearly 70 meetings last year was just not manageable, and with this many people involved, that's going to be very difficult.
I'm just bringing it up as a point of discussion about how we can help. You know,
Yes.
in you know making that happen in a more organized, streamlined fashion, not having 70, but.
Yeah, no, Chris, you're right on target. That's what we're hoping to achieve, I think, in the rest of this meeting and on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
So this is 6 meetings. If the working group, if there are more specific meetings, if you will, in-depth meetings sort of focused on whatever technologies or aspects that the working group is focused on. If they do 2 a year, that's going to give us 26 meetings, which is a bit less than half or a third, which is close to a third of it before. That might be a good number to shoot for. So, because that's going to give, I mean, each of these, some of these meetings, I should say, should have a broad interest group of folks maybe have and then if each working group basically aims at, they don't have to do 2 necessarily, but aims at doing 2, where they can, like the formulations committee can talk about how, sort of formulation-specific topics, which is going to grow. Is that a good number to shoot for? Sort of 20, 2 for each working group plus this?
I think that sounds right on target. And again, it's not so much about numbers, but as the interest goes, then
Right. But I think that the supplemental meeting, somewhat to me, it should be driven by the working groups, because these are the people that are focused on. Of course, some are broader than others, but formations and drug delivery, that's a specific topic, right?
Yeah.
As you want, you drug discovery finance, that goes across everything. You have to have money. Of course, we're all in the business of discovering drugs.
Yeah. And my only point is that I think that, you know, you, as an advisory board, you know, if we're going to add some value from my experience of working on the finance committee, it's just not easy to make this stuff happen, you know, with quality people. So I would suggest that you charge them with, you know, understanding that they should do, on top of this, participating in these theme forums, that they create, you know, start working on, you know, 2 additional forums immediately, because it's, you know, it's hard to, the calendar is the biggest challenge, period. I mean, you know, just getting things fitted in and that aren't competing with other conferences, and it just gets very, it's not going to be easy, and we're already in April. So that would be my one piece of advice for this working body, to help them pull that off. Even 2 more between now and the end of the year, it's going to be, you know, it's not easy.
Yeah, and remember, this series only takes us through the end of October. So, you know, somewhere August, the focus of our meeting and the working groups will be, okay, where we go from here. What's been working, you know, what will work better. So.
You know, one of my concern is that the last drug discovery were about 10 people, which obviously it's not enough. So how we are going to speak about the forum, not speak about the series, speak about the twice a year forum, how we are going to make it happen that will be at least 20, because 10, it doesn't make sense that people are coming and speaking.
Yeah, if you have more presenters than you have audience, then it's not the right balance.
No, but again, to that point, these more focused collateral meetings can be collaborative, you know? If we're talking about science tactics, maybe biostats and drug discovery get together and say, okay, here's an offshoot that will speak to that forum, but be a little more in-depth. But again, you've got a broader marketing ability.
Yeah, so Dahlia, so with all the working groups and then the FAB representatives, we're hoping that in addition to the marketing and outreach that we typically do, and we know sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't work, we're hoping that you will all tap into your networks and then, you know, market this program respectively as well. And we think by collaborating multiple working groups together and the FAB representatives that we should hopefully be able to draw larger audiences.
The 2 per year forum will be a collaborative. Or the individual, that's still,
I think they can be, there can be, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, whatever makes sense.
They can be, you know, whatever works, we'll have to see going forward.
We'll understand that maybe some of those supplemental type meetings will be very narrowly focused, and it might only be attractive to 15 people, but it's worth doing it for that very specific segment. But we're hoping that these will draw the larger audience.
And plus, if you remember the committee meetings, the way they were marketed, people signed up for drug discovery, any specific group. So they were marketed to a rather narrow sector of our membership. This is going to change all of that. You all are out there. You're our face to the universe.
And I would actually, you know, if you want to look at the function of this forum advisory board, that would be another great role for us to play in a very organized, thoughtful fashion, even have a meeting about that topic. I mean, which is marketing, communicating, getting people to the meetings, helping support all of these events at a macro level as a group. I mean, I think that would be a fun, interesting thing for us to focus on. How do we drive attendance, you know, presence building, you know, even sort of getting feedback on, were we right in assuming that this was going to be of interest to the world at large? And drive, especially if we're going to have less events, you know, I think targeting getting a couple hundred people at each event is sort of a number that we should certainly be able to hit.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree, and part of that would be getting a good overview of what exactly is MassBio's marketing capability.
Having a meeting about that.
And how's it working?
Yeah, and my experience suggests that it is imperative that the committee chairs develop their own email list, because I know Bob and Nils had theirs. We had ours at the Finance Committee, Entrepreneurs University, John Hessian and I. The MassBio blast emails don't hit the targets.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate they get trapped in the junk mail filters, people leave, they change jobs. And so basically we recruited our own attendees, and plus people found it on the calendar. So I think it's important that the new committee co-chairs, if they haven't done it before, that they understand that. Mm-hmm. It's really their network.
Absolutely, and that's one of your sort of points on your timeline there, is to have a whole calls around the marketing with all the working groups, with that FAB liaison and anyone else who wants to call in, but for each respective forum to have a whole marketing call.
Yeah, so I think us as a group, if we can have a meeting about what is, help us understand first, what's the mission internally at MassBio for marketing communications, what technology do you have, how are you using social media, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and then, and also revisiting this discussion. Let's rip this apart, talk about it more as a group, because I think, the experience in this forum, this advisory board, that's the kind of value I think that we should be adding, macro value, to all of them. So, and I think it would be a fun be a good meeting for us to have specifically about that, meeting with you folks at MassBio. So we're not swimming upstream if you've already got, I don't know what the.
No, that sounds like an excellent meeting. That would be great feedback for us to have too, from an outside perspective.
Yeah, and then you can put, for existing members, and then how do we address attracting new members and who can come, not come, what are the policies that exist? I don't really know what they are.
Well, if we're stepping back and talking about the purpose of the Foreign Advisory Board and how we run it, I'd like to say, leaders lead, advisors advise, and staff does the work. And today, what we've seen is we have 18 people on the Foreign Advisory Board. Some people sign up for everything. Some people sign up for nothing. And I think we have an opportunity to improve how we run this. Now, my view is, no disrespect, but the staff shouldn't be running everything. If we have co-chairs, they should be perhaps running the things, setting the direction. Like I say, the staff does the work. But do we have leadership from this group that's going to run things? Because I think to some extent somebody needs to take charge and set direction. And to have, like I say, some people sign up for everything and other people sign up for nothing, you're not utilizing the talent of the Foreign Advisory Board.
I'll be candid too, just sitting here going through this process. I'm a little concerned that there are too many cooks in the kitchen as it is. You've got these committee chairs, you've got these, so if you're going to add this Foreign Advisory Board, it really has to function as a value added.
I mean, I know to some extent we're defining the purpose of what this body is supposed to do.
Yeah.
But I think we could have had a better result today. And, the people joining from remote have been dropping off since 9 a.m. So, let's try and figure out, set direction, get more focused and more productive.
I would suggest that you don't dial in. I mean, it's if at all possible. I mean, it's really not. If you can come, because it's.
For example, what we did today with the process of people signing up for assignments, that could have been done by putting out an email blast saying, a couple simple questions. Are we going to map one person as the liaison to each working group?
I mean, I didn't speak up to be a co-chair, but I'll tell you that I would agree.
A maximum of one. A minimum of one, a maximum of one, a maximum of two. What is it? And then who wants to do what? Because people are home with sick kids, and it's an imperfect process.
Yeah, I think that Susan did attempt to do that a little bit, right? But the responses were limited in what people got back to her with. So unfortunately, she did have to use this time to sort of set the tone for what the board would be doing.
Was there a call to action email? If so, it didn't register on me.
Yeah, there was. It went out a couple of times with action items. Here's what we should be thinking about for the next meeting.
I usually don't scroll down on emails, so I guess I overlooked the call to action.
Email is an imperfect thing. But right now, that's what we got.
One of the things that I've noticed incidentally from the MassBio email is there's a variety of challenges. Some things get filtered out for some reason, and at one point a couple of years ago, my email server had some kind of a hiccup that coincided with one of the MassBio mailings, and it registered as a bounced email, so I didn't get any more email for 2 years. So it's a matter of whoever's sending out the email, if it's going through Constant Contact or something, or some similar thing, there needs to be contact maintenance going in and making sure that if something's bounced, is it bounced because there was some kind of a goofy hiccup, or is an email address changed? Because when it's bounced, it gets taken off the list.
And that's sort of the internal policy, what happens here on the marketing side. That's a different topic altogether, but I would say when I get an email from MassBio, it's just way too busy. It's an update. Scrolling down, figuring out what's new, what's not new, it's not as targeted. So I mean, these are the kind of things that would be great to have a separate meeting about.
Part of my point is that I didn't get a call to meeting, a call to action email message.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I've received things from other parts of Mass Bio, like Bob Ross, Mass Biomed, saying, I need your input on this. It's right in the first sentence, it's clear what's required.
Yeah. A lot of them are a bit busy.
If somebody sends me an email like that, I often
I
respond.
know the internal policy is how many, and I think nowadays, I don't know, it's a personal opinion, but I don't mind getting too many emails, because I just delete them until I until I want to read them, but it's.
What my law firms do is they say action required in the subject line, and actions required.
Regardless of emails, we're all here, and we had a meeting, and we did choose leadership, probably in an hour ago. And I was satisfied with the process. Everybody had their chance to speak up on it. So now we do have leadership for this. And I say we move forward on that vote that we all made with the folks who did show up here. So everyone that can complain about email or whatever, for whatever reason, we had a meeting, and we seem to have had a quorum. How many participants today, by phone or in person?
There were 8 on the phone. Everyone except for 2 people.
Okay, so we had 16 out of 18 people who sat in, and we all joined and agreed on leadership. Susan did a great job. I didn't hear any dissenting votes. I think this group...
Bob, love it or leave it.
I think we tried to do something, and should we just proceed with it or not? Or back up on it?
I mean, to me, we're trying to figure out exactly how this is going to work. I agree completely with Mike that calling in doesn't really work too well, right? I mean, you can have a conference call with 3 people, 4 people, 5 maybe. Above that, it becomes a silence.
Yeah.
Now I scared them off here.
Yep.
But I mean, maybe don't give them that option. I mean, of course, we don't have to be 18. Well, we actually did figure out who point person to each of the forms going forward. We had the suggestions, or I guess in terms of how we could have the working group fill in the gaps there as well. So I think we've accomplished, at least we come up with a plan. We don't have to be 18 people to come up with that
Susan,
plan, right?
I have to apologize. I have a 10 o'clock meeting, so I have to run. I'm glad you pointed that out, though, because Susan, I believe, and I was on maternity leave, so I wasn't privy to those meetings, but I'm quite sure we talked about this many times. She did ask everyone to make an attempt to attend in person because for that very reason.
Yeah.
Call-in is not useful to
I
anyone.
mean, if you have to call in, you have to call in, but,
Right.
But I think today, Bob, I think we did all right. Yeah. We can always do better, but I'm,
Oh, seriously, more instead of like what we said. I mean, at least to me, it's becoming clearer and clearer how this could work. And of course, I could have a completely different opinion from the rest of you, so maybe at the end of the day, we will lay 18 different versions.
No, we have to try. We're in there.
But if we do those forums, which of course we will do, and have the working groups fill in the gaps in between. One thing that's going to be important there is for to make sure that we spread those meetings out. Because if we tell the working groups 2 more meetings this year, I'll tell you there's going to be 20 meetings in December. Because they will just push it forward in December. So you have to guide, okay, you guys this week, you guys that, or whatever. I mean, I'm making things up as I go here. But we can't just say 2 meetings a year because there are going to be 2 meetings for each group in December. So we have to guide, because that's happened so many times over the past. There's been 2 days in a row, 2 quite similar meetings. And then of course you get half the audience because it's hard for people to go to 2 meetings, even though I did go to a couple
Or meetings on top of the annual meeting or on top of the investor meeting.
Right. And of course that to some degree has been driven by the practicalities, at least the way we've done this, every 3rd Thursday of the month. And of course sometimes that 3rd Thursday overlaps with something else, which is going to reduce the audience. Another thing in terms of audience, while I'm speaking here, I've been amazed at how many, when I speak to people at universities and big companies, how many people that have no idea that they can go to this meeting.
Right.
So I'm not sure who this goes out to, but it seems like it goes out to one person at Merck. And if that person doesn't send it on, no one at Merck knows about
But not only Merck, also the university.
Yeah, the same thing with universities. I mean, I was at Harvard and did this thing. I was on a panel a couple of weeks ago and I talked about this and then oh, do you exist? Can we go there? It's like, yes, you can, all of you, because Harvard is a member. There was like 30 people there that had no clue.
That's an important part of the marketing discussion for the forum, that the Forum Advisory Board can try to get a hold of, because there are an awful lot of people at Pfizer, and most of them have no clue that they're a member of Mass Bio and that they can attend.
Right, and of course these days you have just within spitting distance, not even walking distance.
The same experience with you, same thing. They have no clue. They
No, exactly, because I mean, yeah, there's like I'm working with.
This is certainly an issue for our forum programs, but it's also a bigger issue for our membership outreach, and we're stepping that up.
Yeah, we actually have staff in place to try to work on that, but we need all of your help to help, you know, educate all of your contacts as well.
Yeah, because I think that's going to make it, I want to spend my time wisely and have it be interesting. I think that's another great, you know, what are the resources, how can we better examine the resources that are at NASPI already that people aren't taking advantage of, beyond just the forums.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so it's very important.
So you want to spend your time wisely, that's a big change.
I'm trying to turn over a new leaf.
I mean, in terms of this sentence too, I mean, you brought up a very good point, Chris, in terms of how busy it is. I mean, what's going on at NASPI. Of course, lots of things goes on at NASPI, but at the same time, if we can tease that apart a bit and get it out to the people which could potentially be interested in those topics.
Yes.
Because I'm not saying that there's something wrong with lots of things going on, but when you get that, sometimes it's hard to find what's of interest to you.
And again, you all are out there in ways that we are not. So we need your help in doing this. Well, that looks like a topic for the next meeting. Let's just see where we are here. So we've gotten this, we've got this. Did I go backwards? No, I didn't.
Hello, it's getting very hard to hear again.
Oh, so sorry. All right, so